As the morning light slowly filled the horizon, the silence no longer felt empty. It felt expectant, as though the day itself carried an invitation to become someone stronger than yesterday. Every experience that had shaped these two hearts, the disappointments, the unanswered questions, the seasons of waiting, had prepared them for a choice that could not be avoided forever. The story was never about finding someone perfect. It was about discovering whether two imperfect people could choose the same direction, even when the road became difficult. That was the condition. Not wealth. Not status. Not flawless timing. Simply a willingness to grow together instead of apart. One heart had spent years believing that love should always feel effortless. The other had learned that real commitment often begins where easy emotions end. Both perspectives held a fragment of truth, but neither told the whole story. Genuine love was more than excitement. It was waking each day and deciding that kindness, patience, and honesty would remain stronger than fear. There were moments when doubts whispered that walking away would be easier. Every meaningful relationship reaches that crossroads. It is tempting to believe that a different person would remove every obstacle, yet lasting relationships are not built by avoiding challenges. They are built by facing them with humility. As the hours passed, quiet reflections replaced anxious thoughts. Old misunderstandings began to look smaller when viewed through the lens of compassion. Words that had once seemed impossible to say became easier to imagine. Apologies no longer appeared as signs of weakness but as acts of courage. Forgiveness no longer felt like surrender but like freedom. The condition for forever became clearer with every passing moment. It was the willingness to tell the truth, even when the truth felt vulnerable. It was the willingness to listen without preparing a defense. It was the willingness to celebrate another person's victories without jealousy. It was the willingness to remain present during difficult conversations instead of disappearing when emotions became overwhelming. These were not dramatic gestures that captured attention for a day. They were quiet decisions that shaped a lifetime. Every lasting relationship is built one conversation at a time, one promise at a time, one act of grace at a time. No grand declaration can replace the daily practice of respect and care. As this imagined journey continued, both hearts slowly recognized that forever is never handed to anyone. It is created together through countless ordinary moments that gradually become extraordinary because of the love invested in them. The condition was never meant to keep love away. The condition existed to protect it, because love that is rooted in honesty can weather misunderstanding. Love that is rooted in patience can survive seasons of waiting. Love that is rooted in mutual respect can grow stronger through life's unexpected changes, and love that is rooted in shared commitment becomes more resilient with every challenge overcome together. The future remained unwritten. No one could predict exactly how every chapter would unfold. Yet one truth remained certain throughout the story: the strongest relationships are not defined by perfect circumstances but by two people who continue choosing each other with integrity, compassion, and hope. And perhaps that is the most meaningful message of all. that forever is less about finding the perfect moment and more about becoming the kind of person who helps create one. Day after day, together, the days that followed did not erase every uncertainty. Questions still appeared from time to time, and the future remained impossible to predict. Yet something had changed deep within both hearts. Instead of allowing fear to write the next chapter, they began letting wisdom, patience, and understanding guide each step. They discovered that lasting love is rarely built during extraordinary moments alone. It grows quietly in everyday choices that seem almost invisible at first. A thoughtful conversation after a difficult day. A sincere apology offered without excuses. A promise kept when no one else is watching. These ordinary acts slowly became the foundation of something far greater than either of them had imagined. There were mornings when the world felt rushed and demanding. Responsibilities competed for attention, and distractions seemed endless. Yet they learned that making time for one another was never time wasted. Even a few moments of genuine presence could strengthen trust more than grand speeches ever could. The condition that once sounded intimidating no longer felt like a burden. It had become a shared commitment. They agreed that honesty would always have a place between them, even when the truth was uncomfortable. They agreed that respect would never disappear during disagreements. They agreed that neither would allow pride to become more important than reconciliation. Those promises were not dramatic declarations made for applause. They were quiet decisions repeated again and again until they became part of everyday life. As the seasons changed, they also realized something unexpected. Neither person needed to lose their individuality to build a strong relationship. Healthy love did not erase dreams, talents, or personal growth. Instead, it encouraged each person to become wiser, kinder, and more confident while cheering for the other's success. When one stumbled, the other offered encouragement instead of criticism. When one celebrated, the other celebrated too. When one felt uncertain, the other listened with patience instead of rushing to judgment. Little by little, trust replaced hesitation. Hope replaced fear. Peace replaced constant anxiety about what tomorrow might bring. One evening, as they reflected on how far they had come, they understood a truth that had been hidden in plain sight all along. Forever is not created by one unforgettable day. It is created by thousands of ordinary days filled with faithful choices. Every kind word mattered, every act of forgiveness mattered, every moment of compassion mattered. These seemingly small decisions accumulated into something strong enough to endure life's changing circumstances. They knew there would still be challenges ahead. Every meaningful relationship experiences seasons of joy and seasons of difficulty. But they no longer measured their future by the absence of problems. They measured it by their willingness to face those problems together with grace and perseverance. That realization transformed everything. Instead of asking, "Will everything always be easy?" they began asking, "How can we love each other well today?" Instead of worrying about distant uncertainties, they focused on the opportunities already placed before them, to encourage, to forgive, to listen, and to grow. And as each new chapter unfolded, they discovered that the true condition for a lasting relationship had never been about perfection. It had always been about choosing love that is grounded in honesty, strengthened by patience, and sustained by mutual respect. The story remained unfinished. Because every meaningful journey continues one day at a time. And perhaps that is what makes hope so powerful. The next page has not been written yet, leaving room for courage, grace, and new beginnings that neither heart could have fully imagined. As another chapter of the story unfolded, they came to understand that every meaningful relationship is shaped not by dramatic turning points alone, but by the quiet rhythm of everyday faithfulness. Every sunrise offered another opportunity to begin again. Every evening became a chance to reflect, to learn, and to appreciate how far they had come together. There were still moments when uncertainty knocked at the door. Life has a way of presenting unexpected challenges that no one can fully prepare for. Plans changed. Circumstances shifted. Some days were filled with laughter, while others required patience and resilience. Yet through it all, they discovered that lasting commitment is not measured by the absence of hardship but by the willingness to remain kind when kindness feels difficult. One conversation became especially meaningful. They spoke honestly about their hopes, their fears, and the dreams they had quietly carried for years. Instead of trying to impress one another with perfect answers, they simply listened. They realized that being understood was just as valuable as being admired. In that moment, the condition for forever became even clearer. It was not about proving worth. It was not about never making mistakes. It was not about living without disagreement. It was about creating a relationship where truth could be spoken with gentleness, where forgiveness could be offered sincerely, and where trust could grow stronger through consistency. The more they embraced those principles, the more confident they became that love is not a destination reached in a single day. It is a lifelong journey of choosing each other through changing seasons. Some days would feel effortless, others would require determination. Both kinds of days mattered, because the strongest foundations are not built only during moments of celebration. They are strengthened during ordinary days when love quietly shows up through patience, encouragement, respect, and care. As they looked toward the future, they stopped asking whether they could predict every outcome. Instead, they focused on the choices they could make today, speaking honestly, acting with compassion, keeping their promises, and encouraging one another to grow into the best versions of themselves. They learned that forever is not guaranteed by words alone. It is nurtured through daily actions that reflect sincerity and mutual commitment. Every shared smile became a reminder of gratitude. Every challenge became an opportunity to practice understanding. Every new day became another page in a story that neither of them could have written alone. And although no one can know exactly what tomorrow will bring, hope remained steady because it was rooted not in certainty about the future, but in confidence that love grows strongest when it is continually supported by integrity, humility, and unwavering respect. So the journey continued, one conversation, one act of kindness, and one faithful decision at a time. proving that the greatest stories are not those without obstacles, but those where two people keep choosing to build something meaningful together, day after day, with open hearts and enduring hope. As the journey continued, they discovered that the meaning of forever became clearer with time. It was never simply about promising many years together. It was about filling each day with choices that reflected care, honesty, and steadfast commitment. They began to notice the beauty in moments that once seemed ordinary. A quiet walk after a long day. A thoughtful message of encouragement. A shared meal where conversation flowed without distraction. These simple experiences slowly became treasured memories because they were built on genuine attention and appreciation. They also learned that every relationship benefits from humility. There would be misunderstandings, different opinions, and moments when emotions ran high. Yet those moments did not have to become permanent divisions. Instead, they could become opportunities to understand one another more deeply. Whenever tension appeared, they made a conscious effort to pause before speaking. They chose words that healed rather than harmed. They listened with the intention of understanding instead of simply responding. Those habits did not remove every difficulty, but they prevented small disagreements from growing into lasting resentment. Over time, trust became stronger, respect became deeper, hope became steadier, not because life became perfect, but because they kept practicing the qualities that strengthen meaningful relationships. One day, while reflecting on everything they had experienced, they realized that the condition for forever had quietly transformed both of them. It was no longer something they felt obligated to meet. It had become part of who they were. Patience was no longer forced, kindness became natural, forgiveness became easier, encouragement became a daily habit. Those changes reached beyond their relationship. Friends noticed a greater sense of peace. Family members observed a new level of maturity. Their lives became an example of how consistent compassion can influence every area of life. They understood that love is never strengthened by control or fear. It grows where there is freedom to be honest, courage to admit mistakes, and willingness to learn together. Every new challenge reminded them that commitment is renewed through daily choices rather than one-time declarations. Some chapters were joyful, others required perseverance. Each chapter contributed something valuable to the story they were writing together. The future still held many unknowns, as every future does. Yet uncertainty no longer felt overwhelming. They had learned that while circumstances may change, character remains one of the strongest foundations a relationship can have. So they continued moving forward with gratitude for the present instead of becoming consumed by fear of what might happen next. And as each sunrise arrived, it quietly reminded them that lasting love is not created by extraordinary moments alone. It is built through countless ordinary decisions made with sincerity, patience, and unwavering respect. One day, one conversation, and one act of kindness at a time. The seasons continued to change, and with each passing chapter, they gained a deeper understanding of what it truly meant to build a life together. They no longer searched for perfect circumstances before choosing joy. Instead, they learned to create joy within whatever circumstances they faced. There were days filled with celebration, when everything seemed to fall into place. There were also days that tested their patience, requiring courage they did not know they possessed. Yet every experience carried a lesson that strengthened their foundation. They discovered that gratitude has a remarkable way of changing perspective, instead of focusing on everything that had not yet happened. They began appreciating what was already present, a conversation that ended in understanding instead of conflict, a moment of laughter after a difficult week, the comfort of knowing someone genuinely cared. These gifts, though simple, became reminders that meaningful relationships are built one thoughtful choice at a time. As time passed, they stopped comparing their journey to anyone else's. They realized that every relationship follows its own unique path, with its own pace of growth and its own opportunities to learn. Comparison only distracted them from the beauty of the life they were creating together. Whenever uncertainty returned, they reminded one another of the promises they had chosen to live by. To speak truth with kindness, to offer grace when mistakes happened, to celebrate one another's strengths, to face challenges as partners rather than opponents. Those commitments became more than words. They became habits that quietly shaped every season of their lives. The condition that once seemed mysterious was now beautifully simple. Keep choosing love that is expressed through integrity. Keep choosing patience when answers take time. Keep choosing forgiveness instead of resentment. Keep choosing respect, even when opinions differ. Keep choosing hope, especially during difficult moments. They came to understand that these choices are never completed once and for all. They are renewed every day, sometimes in small ways that no one else notices. Yet those unseen moments often become the strongest threads holding a relationship together. Looking ahead, they knew they could not predict every chapter that remained unwritten. Life would continue bringing unexpected opportunities, surprising changes, and moments requiring resilience. But they also knew that the values they had embraced would continue guiding them through whatever lay ahead. Every sunrise offered another beginning, every conversation offered another opportunity to understand, every act of kindness became another brick in the foundation they were carefully building. The journey continued, not because every question had been answered, but because they had learned that lasting commitment grows through consistent love, mutual respect, and the willingness to keep walking forward together, one faithful step at a time. And so the story remained open, inviting each new day to add another page filled with compassion, courage, hope, and the quiet strength that comes from choosing one another again and again. The journey moved forward with quiet confidence, shaped less by dramatic moments and more by the steady rhythm of intentional choices. They discovered that the greatest milestones in a relationship are often invisible to everyone else. They are found in the decision to remain patient after a long day, to encourage instead of criticize, and to remember that every person carries hopes, fears, and dreams that deserve gentle care. With every passing season, they learned that trust grows slowly, much like a tree whose strongest roots develop beneath the surface long before anyone notices its height. There were no shortcuts. Every promise kept strengthened those roots. Every honest conversation gave them greater stability. Every act of forgiveness allowed new growth where old hurt once remained. One quiet evening, they reflected on how much they had changed since the beginning of their journey. They smiled as they realized that neither of them was the same person they had once been. Time had not simply passed, it had shaped them. They had become more patient, more understanding, more willing to celebrate each other's successes without comparison, more willing to admit mistakes without fear. Those changes became the true evidence that love was continuing to mature. They also realized that lasting commitment is never sustained by feelings alone. Emotions naturally rise and fall, but character provides the steady foundation that remains through every season. Choosing kindness when emotions are strained. Choosing honesty when silence seems easier. Choosing hope when uncertainty appears. These decisions gradually became second nature. As new opportunities and challenges arrived, they approached them with a different perspective than before. Instead of asking whether circumstances would always remain favorable, they asked how they could continue serving one another with generosity, respect, and compassion regardless of what the future held. That shift transformed everything. Difficult moments no longer felt like signs that something was broken. Instead, they became opportunities to practice the very qualities that had brought them this far. Patience became stronger through waiting, forgiveness became deeper through understanding, trust became richer through consistency, hope became brighter through perseverance. Looking back, they realized that the condition for forever had never been hidden at all. It had quietly been present in every meaningful decision they made together. Every time they chose understanding over assumption, grace over resentment, or encouragement over criticism, they strengthened the future they hoped to share. The story continued to unfold with quiet confidence. They knew there would still be unexpected turns ahead, because every life includes moments that cannot be planned. Yet they no longer feared those unknown chapters as much as they once had. They had learned that while no one can guarantee tomorrow, every person can choose how they will love today, and those daily.